We could talk about any number of different things. We could talk about the unlikely coupling of one Andy Timmons with Olivia Newton John.
Ooh, I think it's a very good coupling myself.
I like the sound of it.
Well,
a buddy of mine that I knew years ago, Doug Nelson, played with her. Did you know Dougie at all?
I don't know Doug. So that must have been in her 80s heyday, or when was that?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, she, so it is kind of a wacky pairing. Now, I fell in love with Olivia circa 1973 when that Have You Never Been Mellow track came out.
Oh my God.
What a beautiful voice.
Angelic.
Every girl in the class loved her, and so did I. Anyway, so I'm in Austin doing a record with a woman named Sarah Hickman, who is just incredible, amazing. And I'm checking my messages remotely. Did I have a cell phone? No, I was calling my answering machine.
Answering machine.
Late 90s. Yeah, exactly. And it was Simon Phillips. He goes, Andy, do you fancy playing with Olivia Newton John? Give me a call. So I'm like, okay. So I call. So the deal was Olivia had breast cancer in the early 90s, and she survived, and clearly, and but she retired at the time. She just decided she was going to stay home in Australia and take care of her daughter and be with her family. But later in the 90s, she did a few gigs in Australia with the John Farnham Band. John Farnham is like the Springsteen of Australia.
Yeah.
His band backed her up, and she enjoyed it. She'd been away for a while and decided she wanted to kind of get her toe back in the water. So they booked her a couple of months of dates in the U.S., but there was two guitar players, Stuart Frazier, rest in peace, my brother. But Brett Garza, the other guitar player, you probably know Brett, and brilliant musician, couldn't do the gig for some reason. I think he had his own band going, or he wasn't going to come. So this Australian band and Olivia were coming, and so management just kind of put the feelers out. And she's managed by Fitzgerald Hartley. Of course, that's the longtime management of the Toto group who Simon was playing with. So they just kind of, within the ranks, said, hey, we need a guitar player. Who do you guys know? And Simon, he and I had worked together and did a lot of tours together, and he knew my work ethic, et cetera. So he just recommended me. And little did I know that it would turn into a 15-year gig. It was for the players out there, I tell the story where it was the MD hadn't had much communication with me, the music director. I don't even think I got any music from him. I got a board tape the week before the gig was to start, and so it was a two and a half hour show. It was like a really career spanning retrospective of her material. But so I before that, I'd gone out and bought all the records, and I knew in my head, I knew a lot of the songs just because they were such great, so many hit songs. But I went in and just had everything down. And the first day of rehearsal, we had an unbelievable 3 days of pre-production, which these days you're lucky to get a sound check for your beginning of tour. But so the first day, the first run through, I'm on, man. As I would treat any gig as like it's the most important gig I'm going to do. It's like, that's just the way the music deserves it. The other players deserve the respect. So it went well. And so I think that as the tour went on and it was obvious that she was digging it and might want to do it again, management saw that, well, this guy's got his act together. Maybe we could make him, the music director and have a U.S.-based group. So then I was able to help piece together a band of some of their stable of guys and some of my Dallas friends. And so that from then on, I was her guitarist and music director. And it was kind of perfect because she didn't work like a lot. It was like, 2 and 3 months out of the year in 2 and 3 week little, sections.
Sure.
So it was great because it was a nice source of income and allowing me to still do all my own stuff and local sessions or whatever, but have my own band and still work with Simon. So I was just kind of juggling all these things. But it's one of those things where I wouldn't have done it if I didn't love her and the music, and the group of people that we had around her. Felt the same about it that I did. It's like just want to do the best for her. Yeah, of course, it's a different gig than me going and playing with Simon in 11, 16 or whatever, or my own tunes where it's all about me. But I've always enjoyed being that kind of player too, where it's like, how can I serve this for the greater good, right? And, it's not about you. You might have your moment to shine here and there, but thoroughly enjoyable. And it's a different set of chops,
Absolutely.
And I would proudly say it's like it wasn't easy in that way. It's to go from her early country stuff, and she does jazz standard stuff and the rock and pop stuff. So it's fun, as as a fan of all the different genres to be able to do that and pull that off, you know.
Now, let me ask you this. So I was going to ask you about Simon Phillips. So how did you hook up with him originally?
That was a Bill Comiskey thing. Our mutual friend who, before Fender, was with Hoshino Ibanez. And they were going to do one of the big NAMM shindigs. It was called Axe Attack. And it was going to be, look out. It was going to be Steve Vai, Satriani, Paul Gilbert, Sean Lane, who was briefly an Ibanez guy, Reb Beach and Alex Skolnick. But they needed like a house band to back everybody up. So they'd asked Simon, they'd asked Gerald Veasley, bass player for Weather Report at the time, I think. And Bill Comiskey knew me. I was in Danger, but he knew all the other stuff that I was doing. Not a lot of people knew about the versatility and all the different things. So he thought I'd be the right guy. And that's how that came to be. So, but Simon's terms for that show. So we'll learn all these songs, but I get to be able to play some of my material. So he'd already released a record called Protocol and something else called Force Majeure, doing his fusion-y kind of Jeff Becky, but more proggy kind of stuff, right? And so I got to learn stuff to back up all these, legendary guys and friends, but also learn Simon stuff, which was admittedly, quite a bit more challenging than anything else in the set. So then when he needed a player, for a tour, God, it was like 5 years later. His normal guitar player, Ray Russell, did a record with him, but he couldn't do the tour, so called me up,
That was it.
Same thing like Olivia's gig, where he just remembered that not only did I learn all the rhythm parts I needed to learn, but Satriani couldn't rehearse, so I played Satch's part. It's like, he saw clearly that I was going to do the work, and I, even though on that gig I was reading charts, just because there was a lot to retain, but do your best to just nail it as hard as you can, man, because you just never know, whether it's the local gig at the pub or whatever, you never know who else is going to be there who might remember that, that guy had his shit together,
Exactly.
And that was exactly that circumstance too. So we did a couple tours in the late 90s, and then we actually he came to the studio here and we wrote a bunch of stuff. There was a period where Toto was going on the edge of breaking up, eventually he's out of the band now, but maybe in the early 2000s, and so we thought we'd form a vocal group, and we wrote a bunch of cool stuff. It just never found the right singer. Then Toto got busy again. Long story, but then we did some Protocol records, Protocol 2 and Protocol 3, and that was a lot of fun. Just because it's out of my wheelhouse. I would never write music like that.
Sure,
but I love playing it, and though it is sometimes too challenging for me. I do have to think a lot when I play some of those tunes. Like, where's one, and what is this chord? He doesn't write with thirds a lot, so it's like we call them adult chords, just like stacked fours over stacked. I don't know what to do. Where's my third? Where's my whoopee? But it's good. But that's good for you. It's good to be pushed like that. To get out of your comfort zone. So those are always great experiences for me, even though if I might be frustrated and think I suck. It's like, all right, I know I'm growing. I'm learning.
I can dig it.
I like to learn.